Good afternoon and welcome to Electronic Bound Book, Truth or Fiction, brought to you by EasyBoundBook. I am Ron Ketterling, President and Founder of Business Automation Specialists. We've been helping our clients with electronic bound books since 2008. We're going to be talking about electronic bound books today. One of the important things as you look at this is that the ATF is regularly inspecting. In last year, 2013, they did 10,002 inspections. This is according to the SHOT Show presentation that they did in January out in Las Vegas, which, if you look at that, is double the number that they did in 2005, although it's a little bit down from what it has been in the last few years. But here's the deal. Less than 1 in 2 inspections went well, meaning that more than 1 in 2 had a problem. 36%, in fact, resulted in some sort of ATF action. And 15% of the businesses audited were out of business. Consequently, less than 1 in 2 went well. So, what was the most frequent citation? Timely entry of bound book. Here's the questions we're going to ask today. I'll give you a minute to look at them. Actually, why don't you just stop the video if you'd like, and you can read them. But we're going to continue. So, do you get more time to record your A&D records? Not a chance. It's not going to happen. We're going to have to label that one as false. You get the same amount of time whether you have a paper book or an electronic book. So what about this? No more printing with electronic bound book. Well, you can print to a PDF, so you can do electronic and not waste all of that paper. But you have to do it at least semi-annually. And you do have to print it to paper on the request of an ATF officer. You also have to print it prior to discontinuance of using the database or when you terminate your license. And again, you have to retain those until the next time you print it out. So, is that true or false? Well, we're going to say it's true and false because while you can print it electronically, you do also have to print it to paper. Well, what about a cloud-based electronic bound book? We get a lot of people who say, I'm using a cloud-based bound book. Is that valid? Well, 2013-5, the FAQ says you can store a backup on the cloud, but the number 9 of that 2013-5 ruling says that it must be stored on a computer server owned and operated solely by the person holding the license. The records, of course, need to be readily accessible at the licensed premises, and the server must be located in the U.S. Well, what does that all mean to you? Well, I think that it means this. First of all, we spent a lot of money trying to get a variance that let us do a cloud-based electronic bound book. Were we successful? Well, I got a big tax deduction, and I'm not running a cloud-based bound book. So, no, we weren't. However, if you do have multiple sites, you could have a server at one of them, or in fact, you could probably have it at a site that would host it for you on your own hardware. You have to own it. It says computer server owned, and have multiple sites coming from that. So is that true or false? Well, we're going to say that it's false. Now, can I use Excel, a spreadsheet like this, for bound book? Well, here's the problem. The regulation says that you must retain the corrections as an entirely new entry without deleting or modifying the original entry. Can you do that with Excel? Certainly. You could copy that row, paste it in another place, and edit it. However, it could just as easily be deleted. It can easily be changed without an audit trail, unless you do a program macro that would prevent those changes. So is that true? Well, that one's a tough one, but we're going to say it's true and false because unless you do some programming, you're probably not going to meet the requirements. You might get by for a while, but then you might get that inspector who says, well, you can change this anytime you want to. How about this? Can you lose your authorization to use an electronic bound book? Well, you have to meet all the conditions of 2013-5. Your use of an electronic bound book can't hinder the ATF administration or any legal or administrative difficulties that might be due to an electronic bound book. So can you lose it? Yeah, you sure can. Well, do you need an ATF variance for an electronic bound book? Well, you haven't had to have one since 2008-2, and ATF ruling 2013-5 continued that history. It does authorize an electronic bound book without a variance. unless you have multiple FFLs in the same database. Now you also have to know that 2013-5 also voided all variances related to electronic bound books. So you need to look at that, and if you have multiple bound books, you need to acquire your variance. So, do you need a variance? No, you don't unless you have multiple FFLs in the database. Well, do you have the same requirements as a paper book? No. You must comply with the 11 conditions of 2013-5, and there's one hidden extra that's not in the 27 CFR regs, and that says that you must record both the manufacturer and the importer of a foreign-made firearm. And also, you must allow queries in the name of either the manufacturer or the importer. So, same requirements as a paper book? No, couldn't be. It has to be a little tougher. Well, how about this? The ATF doesn't certify electronic bound books. Well, you know, that's absolutely true. I spent a lot of money trying to get ours certified, and they said, you know what, even if we said that it was certified, the person using the software is still responsible to make sure that the bound book fulfills all of our requirements. So they're not going to certify any software. I can say that my software is compliant, but it's certainly not certified by the ATF. So that one is true. The ATF does not certify an electronic bound book. Well, what about our EasyBoundBook? We're the sponsor, so we have to give you the commercial. It's fast, easy, and accurate. It's affordable. You can enter the acquisitions and dispositions as they occur, or you might have somebody in the back enter them, and then later on the responsible party looks at them to make sure that they're correct. It's faster, it's more accurate. We'll check to make sure that you haven't recorded this before. We'll check to make sure that the serial number exists when you do the disposition. And then we also have an import function that lets you bring in transactions from your ERP system. And you can automatically generate thousands of serial numbers if it's appropriate. So you're stamping out 1,000 receivers. You enter the beginning serial number and you say 1,000, and in 3 seconds or less you've got them. Well, that's our standalone version of the EasyBoundBook. The integrated EasyBoundBook is almost invisible, because as you're doing your normal ERP processes, as you manufacture, as you sell, as you transfer, as you receive, we're automatically creating the bound book in the back with just the transactions that the ATF wants to see. So it's really invisible and really cuts your ATF bound book time almost to zero. But you can still do all of your transaction inquiries, print out the book, you can do all of those things. It's just that you don't have to take the time to enter them. Well, folks, thanks for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit. I hope you pass the quiz, but more importantly, I hope you pass your audit. Thanks and have a great day.